What is up, guys? This is Tcg Sam here, and in today's video, I'm going to be going over my banlist predictions for the March 2021 banlist. But before we begin, I just want to ask you guys to please remember, if you haven't already, leave a like, comment, subscribe, because it really helps keep me motivated to keep posting more videos like this, and it would really help me out. And I've also noticed that a very small percentage of my viewers are actually subscribed, so if you like these videos you're watching, then please let me know by subscribing. It would really help out a lot. But anyways, without any further ado, let's just hop straight in. So the very first card that I think is going to be banned is True King of All Calamities. If you don't think this card should be banned, then probably haven't been playing the game at all. But yeah, pretty obvious, True King of All Calamities. This card just is very, very difficult to counter. Like once it resolves, you're pretty much not doing anything that turn. So I feel like it definitely has to go. Ever since it came out, it's just been such an impressive card. So I think now, finally, when virtual worlds are abusing it, it's finally time for it to go. On a similar note, Utopic Zexal. It has a somewhat similar effect, except that it locks out every single card from being played. And you can argue it's somewhat more splashable, because all you need is a single Numeron network to make this card, which also, in my opinion, makes it more likely to get hit too. Just because of how oppressive these cards that pretty much say skip your opponent's turn, it's just insane. I don't think these cards should be in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Just because of how unfair it is for the player who these effects are getting used against. And then for the next card that's getting banned, I think it's finally time for Guard Dragon LP to go. LP is a very, very good card in Dragon Link. It's pretty much been good ever since it was released in a multitude of combo decks that use Dragon cards. And Dragons have some of the best support in the game with like Romulus, Pisty, Dragon Ravine, Dragon Shrine, stuff like that. Like just to name a few. So I think LP can definitely go, even though Dragon Link I feel like isn't like super oppressive. Like some of the boards they can put up right now are still pretty nice. If you take away LP, you don't make it so the deck can't play, but like the deck can still use all of its Dragon extenders to still build a pretty formidable board with like Seals, the Dragon Mate Trap, I guess either Appaloosa or something. But either way, I think LP has to go. LP is just way too strong. And then finally for the banned cards, Mystic Mine. I absolutely despise this card, but I also feel like there's good reason for it to go, just because of how it promotes this very unhealthy style of game where it's just draw pass until your opponent pretty much decks out. That's kind of the game that Mystic Mine promotes. Like I understand Mystic Mine can be used somewhat skillfully, where you sit behind it for a couple of turns as a combo deck, and then once you draw the resources, you go right after it. But like I think even limiting it at the very least, just not leaving it at 3. Like this card, once you play it, like it's possible that a lot of decks don't have any outs to it. So cards like that, I feel like probably should be banned. But at the very least, I feel like it'd be hit to 1. Speaking of the limited list, moving on, I think Miscellaneousaurus, there's reason for it to go back to 1 just because of how strong a card like Archosaur is. The fact that you can just go start with a hand of Miscel Baby, which before was just pretty much nothing, now gets you like your full dinosaur combo, which is absolutely insane. I don't think they'll hit a card like Fossil Dig, because that doesn't really solve any problems the Dino deck had. Because like now I feel like when I've been seeing dinosaurs playing the Samorg Link 3 with Reaperdocus, so they can summon the Windbearer statue now and protect it with a card like Logia or with a UCT, so that's just really good. And I just feel like hitting Miscel down to 1 would keep dinos in check so they don't take over. Like, I understand this is more my personal thoughts. I think it's kind of unlikely they'll do this because dinos aren't making that big of an impact in the meta right now. And they probably want to sell a card like Prosperity, and Prosperity is really good in dinosaurs, so realistically they probably won't hit Miscellaneousaurus, although I do hope that they do because dinos are very strong. Next up for the limited is going to be Cyber Angel Ben 10. So obviously it's a hit to Drytron. It won't kill the deck because you're not hitting any of the core Drytron cards. It will severely reduce its consistency though. With a single Ben 10, it's kind of like a one utility card that you can use to search like that one card you need, one fairy you need, as opposed to when you had triple Ben 10, you could just search another Ben 10, and it gets you more free fodder for your Drytron monsters, just spitting out the like Herald of Ultimateness or Vandy's Ruler. It's just really nasty. So I feel like Ben 10 to 1, it would hurt Drytron a little bit. Drytron could definitely still be playable though, they still have a lot of power plays. So I feel like Ben 10 going to 1 is a pretty fair hit in my opinion. At the very, like, as knowing Konami, they'd be the type of people to put it to 2. But either way, I think Ben 10 needs to get hit just to address Drytron a little bit. And then for the other parts of the limited, my personal opinion of what can come back, first is going to be Heavy Metal Foes Electromite. I think this makes a lot of sense because of the new Metal Foes cards in Blazing Vortex, and then the new Music Doremi Chord, I think, Pendulum Monsters. I think they want to push that, so Electromite's probably going to come back. I think Pendulums just haven't been doing anything at all, so I think it's fine to give them back Electromite. Electromite is a very, very powerful card, of course, and if a card like Halky Fibrax is running around, then I feel like Electromite is okay to come back. Speaking of Broken Link monsters, the next card back to 1 is going to be Firewall Dragon. I think this one, everyone could see it coming because of its errata in Ghost of the Past, and I'm aware that a card like Exciton Knight got reprinted and didn't get released from the ban list for quite a while after, but I think Firewall with its errata just becomes a very, very nice utility Link 4 that has a free bounce and can act as a pseudo extender when you're trying to push for your Link plays. Just even summoning any monster from your hand once per turn is still not a bad effect. Plus, bouncing from either graveyard or field is a very, very nice disruption. And the fact that it's generic, which just means it's quite good. And I don't think it's that big of an issue because your other Link 4s like Appaloosa, Boral Sword, Access Code still exists. So I feel like Firewall would be up there in terms of utility, but I really don't think it would be as impressive. Nowhere nearly as impressive as it was when Gokis were running around. Next up is the semi-limited list. So I'm not a big fan of the semi-limited list. I think cards should either be unlimited, banned, or at 1. But the fact that there is a semi-limited list, there's probably some cards I could see moving onto here. Those cards being Salamangreat Gazelle and Salamangreat Circle. So putting these cards back to 2 would definitely help the Salamangreat archetype a lot. It sets up future Cybers. They can push future Cyber support in like core sets or side sets. And Salamangreat has always just been a very nice budget-friendly deck that was very, very fair, but still played very, very well. It took some very it encourages a lot of skillful play because of your resource manipulation and your disruptions and stuff like that. So I feel like they're not unhealthy for the game. Putting these cards back to 2 gives the deck a much needed boost in consistency and power just because you're seeing Gazelle so much more often. Next up for semi-limited, I don't think it's necessary, but I could see Konami like putting Scarlet Sanguine to 2. So this is for Eldritch, of course. Eldritch, in my opinion, doesn't do anything super unfairly. They're a very, very good resource control deck, but I think the fact that they may want to move on from Secret Slayers and start pushing new archetypes, they might slowly start hitting Eldritch. I feel like hitting Sanguine is probably the most realistic. Hitting it to 2 like would reduce its grind game a little, reduce its consistency a little, but of course, Eldritch players can just replace it with the Black Awakening or the White Awakening, and both would still be really, really good. But it's just like a very small slap on the wrist type of hit to them, so I really don't think it's that big of an issue. Next up for the unlimited list, there are a lot of cards I feel like can come back because they're really not doing anything. The first card is Goldsarcophagus. Goldsarcophagus was only really good in Thunder Dragons, and now that Colossus is gone, I feel like no other decks can really utilize it. Maybe Gren Maju can, so banishing Necrophase, banishing 5 more, but Gren Maju is just it's just so far off the meta. It's just a really random rogue deck that I guess could take advantage of it, but I feel like Goldsarc is definitely not really as impressive as it once was in Thunder Dragon format, so it can definitely come back. Next up, Double Iris Magicians. I really don't think putting it to 3 will do anything. Sure, the Pendulum Graph cards are really good, but like if you release Double Iris, I feel like it also pushes more Pendulum hype, so future Pendulum archetypes like the Doremi chords, even though they probably can't go together from what I've seen so far, just the fact that people are happy to play Pendulums once again. Bringing Double Iris back I think is definitely a really, really fine choice. It's not really going to impact the meta, in my opinion at least. Next up is Dynamite Knight. Obviously, True Draco is not going to impact the meta at all, even if this card is at 3. You can put True King's Return back at 3 as well. These cards really don't do anything. Even though the True Dracos are back at full power minus Masterpiece, they lost cards like Card of Demise, and they can't really play cards like Extravagance or Prosperity because they rely heavily on Heritage effect to draw. so I really don't think this will do anything, to be honest. Next up, I think Malicious can go to Destiny Hero Malicious can go to 3. I think that Malicious won't really be used in many like top tier meta decks. If you think about the top like couple of decks right now, let's just say there's not Skyshark, excuse me, Virtual World, Drytrons, Eldritch, we'll say Infernoble Knights is up there, and Dragon Link. We'll just say 5. We'll just say those 5 are the top 5. Very opinion based. Pretty much it doesn't go in any of those decks. So I feel like Malicious come back. You can help the hero players a little bit. And Malicious I feel like would only really be used in very hyper like 60 card mill combo decks that might be able to use it. But other than that, I really don't think it's that big of an issue. And then next up, something maybe a little controversial. I think Call by the Grave can come back to 3. This would greatly help combo decks face off against hand traps. And maybe Konami doesn't really want to promote a combo heavy format where every deck is just playing a bunch of hand traps and just set up to go first and try to build their unbreakable board. Triple Call by the Grave would really help push some of their plays through. But like I feel that now once Call by the Grave at 1, it's just a really sacky card that if you draw it, you pretty much ensure your combo goes through and wins. So I think it'd be a little more fair if it goes to 3. But that's just my opinion. I think it's also a very nice utility card just to banish stuff out of the graveyard. So I feel like Call by the Grave should come back to 3. And on that note, the reason I want to bring Call by the Grave back to 3 is because I'd personally release Max C to 3. And now this one's probably going to spark the most discussion. I feel like Max C, if Konami wants to combo these counter decks and counter these combo decks, excuse me, and give every deck a fair chance, then putting Max C to 3 just really prevents combo decks from always extending into their full combos and encourages more back and forth play, in my opinion. Because if you maxi I would say 8 to 9 times out of 10, your opponent's probably going to stop what they're doing and just pass it over to you. On the other hand, I feel like for combo decks to be able to be good, they have to put Call by the Grave back at 3 along with Max C. Now that would be a wild format. It's either you draw a Max C or your opponent draws Call by the Grave, yada yada yada. Either way, I feel like it would encourage a more back and forth format. In my opinion, at least, I played when Max C was at 3, 2, and 1. And I just want to say, I don't think it can really go to 1 or 2 because then the card's just super sacky at that point, and the player who draws Max C is pretty much always just going to win. Just because it pretty much can skip your opponent's turn if they don't have access to it. That's the other thing too. If Max C's at 3, even if you get Max C, you still have a chance to Max C your opponent back. And then the back and forth game begins from there. So I feel like Max C can definitely go to 3 in my opinion at least. And then my final thoughts on some other cards that I didn't mention. For decks like Skyshark or Orchestra Thunder Dragon, so all the decks that got hit back at the beginning of 2019, I believe, where like everything got eradicated. So like the Colossus went, Harpora went, Engage went. I feel like for those decks, they're probably not going to bring any of those cards back. And the reason I say that is because Konami is a business and they want to push their new decks out. So I feel like they're probably not going to bring back these old decks that people really, really like. So if these 3 all came back into meta, we could just see like the same meta again and again with like more modern staples like Prosperity or whatever. So I feel like they're probably not going to bring back Striker, Orchestra, or Thunder Dragon cards, at least for the moment. Like I think personally, you can't really bring I guess you can bring a card like Engage back to 1, so they can search the single copy of Engage off their Suzuki, giving Skysharkers a very nice consistency boost. The thing with Orcus, if you put Harpora to 1, it's also very, very nice. The deck becomes so much more playable now because like you can just play all the effects that send monsters to the graveyard, like Mathematician or Armageddon Knight. And if you send Harpora, you can just go through your whole combo from there. The thing with Harpora, obviously you can recycle it with your Orcus stuff, so I feel like Harpora to 1, if they wanted to bring back Orcus, all they had to do was bring Harpora back to 1, in my opinion. It'd still be very playable. And finally, Thunder Dragon, I think you can make the same argument for Colossus. It's recyclable, but they can't summon multiples of it. The thing with Thunder Dragon is I think it was super impressive if it could summon multiple Colossus or Colossi, because then it's very difficult to out multiple Colossuses or Colossi, because now in the game there's so much removal in cards like Nightmare Unicorn. You can Nightmare Unicorn away a Colossus, or you can Widow Anchor it in terms of Sky Striker cards. or you could like impermit. So just the fact that there's a single Colossus makes it a lot more easier to out, but it would definitely help Thunder Dragon so much. The thing is, I feel like Colossus is the least likely to come back because there's so many decks I feel like that could splash a card like Nemesis, the Wind Nemesis card. It's a Thunder that just shuffles a banished card back into your deck, special summons it, and then that's an instant Colossus. So it might be a little unfair that a lot of decks that just banish cards can just special summon a free body and turn it into a Colossus. Because Colossus is still a very, very good card. Stopping Searching could potentially shut down an entire deck like Drytrons. It would hurt Virtual Worlds, definitely. It would be a little annoying for Eldritch, it'd be a little annoying for Dragon Link. But I feel like Thunder Dragon Colossus is the least likely of any of these 3 decks that I mentioned to come back. But with that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Just remember, this is my opinion only. I could be completely wrong about this, so please forgive me if that's the case. But if you guys want to see more content like this, let me know in the comments below. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. And that's all from me, guys. I hope you guys take care, and I will see you guys soon.